No uteruses were harmed in the making of this episode.
What is happening?
Welcome back to No Ginger. I'm Samar.
I'm Ash. And as always, we are here to talk about whatever ails us.
Or excites us in...
Whatever intrigues, whatever interests in Japan.
Yes.
So, Samar, can I share my No Ginger first?
You're so excited. Okay, go ahead.
Actually, I'm not excited about this.
Okay.
I think it's kind of a sad one. This is like a pretty serious No Ginger.
Okay.
Yeah. So
no laughing for me?
no, maybe no.
Okay.
It depends.
All right.
It depends how
All right.
enthusiastic you are about this topic.
Okay.
All right. So recently, my grandparents came to Japan.
Okay, I'm
And
sad.
Oh, what?
My grandma just died 2 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh. Oh, if you've got a problem, we'll put it on the podcast.
It's okay.
So
I mean,
all right. So my grandparents came to Japan a couple weeks ago, and I was really grateful that they took the time, the effort to come over and visit and see Tokyo. We were only in Tokyo. Mm-hmm. And the main reason for that is because, well, my grandparents are in their 80s.
damn. And they came all the way out here to see you?
I know. It's very
They're
loving.
so
It's very
sweet.
nice. Yeah, maybe it was just an excuse for them to take a cruise. They cruised across the Pacific Ocean.
They're enjoying their 80s.
I know. That's what I was thinking. When do I get to just cruise somewhere instead of having to
in
fly?
your 80s.
Apparently in my 80s. I hope this podcast takes off. Okay. So the main thing, the thing that mostly causes this no gender situation is lack of accessibility.
We don't have that.
No. So even their hotel was near Shinagawa Station. And even just from the hotel to the station, it says it's like a 6-minute walk. And it is, if you are capable of going uphill. And also, there's no crosswalk from where the station lets out to where there's no crosswalk from where the station lets out in the direction of the hotel. So instead, they have like an overpass that they've built, a pedestrian overpass.
I hate those overpasses so much.
But of course, these things only have stairs, and they're like really steep, narrow stairs.
Yes.
And I just, when I was taking them from the airport to, or not the airport, because they were on a cruise, from the dock in the port, I don't know, in Yokohama to Shinagawa, we're dragging their luggage. And of course, Bamboo Boy and I are taking their luggage for them because to be helpful, to be youthful.
Hopefully you're not making like 80-year-olds drag their luggage.
That would be horrible.
That would be a horrible grandchild.
I would never do this. Simply could not. Not to my poor grandmother. Anyway, we get there and I just could see their faces, like their sheer inability to understand what we had been telling them. Like, it's a walking country. It's a lot of walking. There's very little that we do by car. And you can tell somebody this, but if they've never really seen it,
they don't believe you.
They don't believe you, or they don't
Especially-
understand the extent of it. And so their faces were just like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to walk
a lot.
But I felt bad for them, and I just ended up, thank God for Go Taxi. I just called them a taxi to drive quite literally 2 minutes. But that's the shouganai. Like,
At least
they are
that-
in
yeah.
their 80s, and there's just not good accessibility. Like, there wasn't even a crosswalk, which is just the simplest thing you could ask for.
Well, hopefully they never go to Korea because the stairs there might take them out.
Korea. Seoul is something. Like, literally just in the city. I feel that Tokyo is really quite flat, but Seoul in comparison, you are just
nightmare.
constantly hiking.
Yeah.
You want to go to a club, you're hiking there. You want to go
There are
to
no
a cafe.
escalators. There are no... Just
Just a lot of stairs.
It's a lot of stairs.
There's the occasional elevator, but in the same way that it is in Japan, the elevators are all like hidden and like in the backs
It's hard
of things. They're hard to find.
Yeah. I remember like running, I had 8 minutes in Seoul Station to get to line 1 for the last train, carrying 29 kilo suitcase and
Okay, hold on, pause. Why did you have 29 kilos in a suitcase?
I may have shopped a little too hard in Vietnam.
29 kilos. Is that even allowed? Is that even legal?
I had to pay extra money. Thank you, Vietjet Air. It wasn't that expensied, but
It's just
I
funny.
started with 23 kilos and then went to 29 kilos. So it's not awful.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, it hurt my knees. But I had to sprint through the station with that suitcase, and it was very painful. And what made it worse is I barely made it onto that train, like going up and down stairs, because they don't have any escalators, anything. They have like this pathetic little like ramp thing that's supposed to take your suitcase, but when you only have 8 minutes, it's so slow that I just had to pull my suitcase off of it because it was useless
To move faster.
And then when I get to the station that I needed to get to, they had shut down the elevator, so I had to hike up the stairs with the 29 kilos.
You know, I don't think this is the shouganai you were intending to tell, but here we are.
Because like when I got to my accommodation then after, I had to go up 4 more flights of stairs with 29 kilos.
Oh. Well,
So-
how are your arm muscles feeling?
They were sore.
Or your
and
back.
then my knees were also, well, my legs were a little bit sore the next day. But I made
You worked
it.
hard. You worked very hard.
Hard. But yeah, Korea is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Well, I guess the bright side is they have public transport and it works.
The public
Unlike some
transportation
countries.
is really good. Yeah.
Unlike some countries. America.
For the win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, shouganai. My
Shouganai.
grandparents had a good time. I hope.
You can send this to them.
Yeah,
and-
I'll ask them. I will ask them to listen to just this episode and see if they have any disputes
Okay.
to bring up. Anyway, Samar, what's your no ginger?
Besides dying in Korea on stairs.
Yes.
Well, if you watched a previous episode, then you know I had a recital for koto, and I had been practicing very hard to not sound like an idiot at my recital.
Yeah.
The first recital of my life.
Yeah.
But guess what, audience? How did it go, Ash?
You know what? Okay, hold on. I will be honest. It wasn't that bad. But there was a point in this where I watch. Okay, being the good friend that I am,
My friends are so kind.
I zoomed in to Samar's face during this recital just to watch her expressions go from, okay, yeah, I'm doing it, to, oh no, I'm not doing it, to what has gone wrong, and then back to, okay, well, I just give up. Like, there's a range of emotions on her face. And the reason was because, why, Samar?
All right. So the teacher literally led with, we have never practiced this before as a class. So
She did say that.
yeah. And I was just like, why are we performing in front of all these people when we have never practiced, first of all? Second of all, I'm an idiot. So, you know, we don't have like the books, like the legitimate books. They're just like folded up pieces of music. And in my nervousness, I had folded the sheet music. So I had 2 pieces. The song, the first piece of paper needs to be open all the way through.
So it's
But
like an A3 piece of paper that you have
It's a-
folded in half
yes,
or something?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just blanked. So I'm just playing with 2 pieces of paper. And then after finishing the first, that's where I was very confident. I was like, all right. And then suddenly the notes change. I'm like, these notes are not these notes. What has happened? Can I not read? And I was just like, eh? My student later told me, she's like, I heard you say eh. She's like, you didn't open your paper, did you? And I was just like,
Is that what I was supposed to do?
I practiced and I couldn't remember to open a paper.
You were so nervous. You were so cute,
I
but
was,
so nervous.
it was a disaster. The only saving grace out of this was one of my students' heads was blocking me.
Oh, yeah. So in the video, you really can't see Samar's hands.
So it doesn't look like I'm just frozen, but I was just frozen. So much so that I thought I wasn't even part of the recital anymore. That when we finished, there is a video of me just clapping for my classmates instead of bowing. And then I bow as everyone is leaving. And my student showed the video to me. She was just like, "You look so cute, like an elementary school student." I'm just like, this is not the compliment that you think it is.
It's really not a compliment.
And to add
Like that.
insult to my multiple injuries,
Yes.
this person here
It's me. I'm the
zoomed
culprit.
in to my face, but also my hair, and it looks like I have a bald spot during the recital. And I'm down bad. This is literally my no ginger. And I don't think I will ever do a recital again. But if you would like to see that video,
Should I post it on the Instagram?
I think no. I don't know.
I'm gonna post it and even put like a little like a crown emoji on your head just to block your bald spot for you.
Okay.
There's no actual bald spot, to be fair. It's just the way her hair was parted, but it does look particularly sus.
Well, if you guys want to see it, comment on YouTube or comment on
I'm ready
Instagram.
to release such pain into the world.
This is why I don't do recitals.
Proud of you. I'm proud of you for doing it.
Sad because everyone spent their lunchtime coming to watch me, and I failed miserably.
Okay, well, it's also not completely your fault because for some reason the recital order was done from best students to the most beginner students.
I'm telling you, she doesn't like us.
Yeah, I believe that. This woman was truly, I mean, in the previous episode, Samara was talking about how severe this woman is, and truly, like, just imagine for yourself the strictest stereotype of a music teacher that you can. Like, hair is pulled back, dressed so primly, like perfect rigid posture.
I'm sure if
she was terrifying.
Yeah, if she could have a ruler and beat the shit out of us, she would have.
She looked like
she would have enjoyed it.
Yeah. She was scary. All right. So we bring to you today something new, something we haven't done before, but we thought, what the heck? Let's give it a try. Today, we would like to invite you to tea. So in this segment, instead of taking someone's email or submission, we want to talk about whatever crazy news is going on in Japan. And tell us how you feel about it. We want to know, what is the tea?
And it's usually something that we have found that the other person doesn't know.
Ideally. Let's see.
We have
Let's
not
see how
seen
it
the
goes.
same thing. So, am I going first?
Sure.
All right, Ash. How do you feel about your uterus?
It's there.
Do you particularly enjoy keeping it?
About once a week, every month, I get pretty frustrated about having one. But the rest of the time, I'm pretty what is the word? I'm not bothered.
Well, you're approaching 30 very soon.
Yes.
Are
you sure? When is this episode being released? Have I approached?
You've either turned 30 by the time this has aired. And the recent news this week, Japanese politician suggests removing uteruses from women over 30 to boost birth rate.
Big question from the peanut gallery right here. How does that make sense?
When I saw this, and I was just, my reaction was, does it mean I don't have periods anymore?
I mean, okay. Is the person who said this a man?
Of course.
Okay, so is he aware that the uterus itself isn't really what causes menstruation?
I think
it just holds a kid. And it does some other stuff too, don't get me wrong. We don't need to go deeply into anatomy and physiology at this moment. But why? What is happening
he had
here?
multiple proposals. His other hypothetical suggestions include banning women over 18 from college and banning women over 25 from marriage. So basically, he's trying to scare women into getting married earlier and having kids earlier.
Another burning question from the peanut gallery. How old is this man?
He's the leader of the Conservative Party. It does not say how old he is. However, he does not look particularly young.
All right, we can assume he is not of this era.
And he got bashed very badly, so badly for this that he had to apologize.
He should.
He was just like, it's hypothetical. He was just like, the media took what he said out of context.
Did they, though? Did they really?
It was funny because someone from his own party told him, okay, you've gone too far.
I mean, okay, there's just simply no logic to this. Like, banning women from college is also going to then eliminate the number of chances they have to meet somebody. Like, a lot of people meet their partners in college. Mm-hmm. Then, okay, so what? Then they can't work? Or they can only work at jobs that don't require credentials? You know how that's going to go.
Well, so what was funny about this story to me was earlier in the summer, this was another story where this former Japanese politician said, if Japanese men have their act together, Japanese women will reward them with babies.
Okay, but I actually, he might be a little bit right. Like, it's a really strong overstatement, a very dramatic take. But what? Like, where we go, oh, the reason why women are not interested in men anymore and don't want to get married and don't want to have children is because they don't have their act together. Right? That's the general concept. Like, we're not making enough money in order to support a family. We're not demanding like high moral attitudes from the country as a whole. I mean, we just did an episode on cheating culture as well.
Getting kicked on the train.
Yeah, and getting kicked on a train.
And
everything else. So while that his statement is truly an overgeneralization, I think there's a bit of truth to it.
He also got bashed for oversimplifying this statement, but I thought it was funny because mostly Japan, like Japanese politicians, male Japanese politicians, get bashed for blaming women and trying to force women to have their babies, where this guy is finally blaming the men.
It is the first I've ever heard of such a thing. I'm very proud of him.
But I mean,
except for how he did it, like, oh, and the reward is babies, like. Like, you can just buy them at the candy shop. Like, oh, my 5-year-old kid has learned how to, I don't know, read, so I'm going to get him some candy. Like, same level, same vibe.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is 88 years old, so it was, he comes from, like, a very rich family, so I think they just are so out of touch, like, why people don't want to have kids in Japan. It's kind of like with every kind of developed nation, I guess. Like in Japan, since I have started working, the first high school that I worked at was founded by a woman. And it was a woman who couldn't get education. And the story, like, there's like a biography that they let you read while you work there. And
like, you can't read it if you don't work there. It's
it's
exclusive information.
Like, it's kind of like they give it to you when you start.
And so they want you to know the background.
Yeah, and it's in English as well. So
that's so nice. So helpful.
So, but what's interesting about that school was that the woman founded it, gave it to her sons, and after her sons took over, I think ever since then, the admin, like everyone who runs the school, has been a man. And when I was there, there was kind of a big fight between, I guess, I forgot, it was like the vice principal, somebody. Like a teacher went on maternity leave and they needed a replacement. And the female teacher was really upset because like she's so tired. She's working like almost every day. And he's just like, it's not my fault that that teacher went on maternity leave. And this used to be an all-girls school.
How the turns have tabled.
And then another teacher had like 2 kids. And I remember the youngest male teacher telling me, and like, it's so funny that they tell me these things. Like, they just don't think like I'm even in the female category because I'm not like a Japanese female.
Japanese,
yeah. And he's just like, yeah, she doesn't really care about this job, huh? Like, she doesn't stay late like me. Like, I stay until like 10 p.m. And I'm just like, why you so that? Incompetent that you need to stay at school 10 p.m.? Because I know the clubs are not going that late. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Just a quick note. By club, you mean
like the
extracurricular activities.
I mean, he was just like chatting with the students, I think, until late into the night, and he considered it like, oh, he's a better teacher.
No,
I'm just like,
I think you just have nothing else to do in your life.
Like, she's literally raising the next generation of people for this country, and you're bashing her because you think she has less passion. Like,
again, if he could get his act together, maybe a woman could reward him with a baby.
He was married to a nursery school teacher, and I was just like, well, what about when you have kids? He's like, my wife will take care of it.
Oh, jeez. Oh, Lord.
So I was just like, yeah, it makes sense why women don't want to have your babies. Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah, I relate very strongly to his wife.
Yeah, because then like they're getting bullied at work, and this was a school founded by a woman, and like meant to educate the next generation of women, now run by men, and giving the female staff of that school a hard time. It just blew my mind. And then even like talking to like mom friends in Japan, like they always have a hard time with daycare and they always have a hard time with work. Like even if they're working with like among other women, like the men bash them, but also like women bash them. Like everyone is just thinking very short term. Like
people are
this
very
is
kind
about
of like
me.
Anti-mom.
Yeah, anti-mom. And it just, I don't get it because this is like a group country, but in this way, they're kind of like, it sounds
like somehow
very individual.
Having children like messes with the community, which is nuts because you need another generation for the community to continue.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like, you know, in like anime sometimes reflects culture, and like literally like I'm a Naruto freak. If you don't know.
I didn't know. Actually, this is the first I ever heard of it.
Really?
Truly.
Okay. But like his big message, the author's big message in that show was like, you need to foster your next generation and you need to protect your children and make sure like that they can continue on your legacy. And if you don't do that, you're basically doomed.
That seems like a pretty good message. Pretty solid.
But like, I just feel like with all these politicians, like they are thinking like how to force people to do what they want.
Yeah.
But they don't think about like why people are not doing this and how can you help them?
I think there's a few things, and I've said this before to friends, saying like, I wish Japan would embrace remote work more.
Yeah.
And my reason for that is because when people have to spend so much time away from their families, even like if they live out in a rural area, they will come into Tokyo all week just for work because their company does not allow remote work or doesn't have remote offices. And so they have to travel in. They stay at a small,
like lodging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like a 1K tiny little shoebox apartment.
Yeah.
And then they get to go home on the weekend. So they barely have any relationship with their family. Well, then if that's the case, then the wife has to handle everything.
She does everything
on her own. And so it's going to be quite hard to be raising kids. You're losing half of your support system immediately just to work.
Yeah.
And I think as well that this push towards going to the city, it's so expensive
Yes.
So that also cuts down people who are younger and they move to the city for work. Sure, they're getting a decent salary, but they have to pay so much to live in the city that they're not even able to afford the concept or the time for dating, meeting somebody, starting a family. Like, forget it.
Yeah, like that female teacher, she was young and like she was partially upset because she didn't have time to date. She wanted to date and like probably get married and have kids, but they were killing her with work. And she was complaining like, this is too much. Like I don't have any time. And then like you would see like a lot of those teachers would end up marrying other teachers just because those are the only people that they meet.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how are
we
you going to have
kind
kids?
of even the same thing at our own workplace. So have people who are looking to date, but the only people they actually spend time with are our coworkers who great people, but don't date your coworkers.
Yeah. Don't recommend.
Negative gearing on that one.
Yeah. Not just Japan. America is
it
also
happens
the
anywhere.
same. In a way, America is worse. Like I remember when my first job in America, this my colleague had just given birth, and then she came back into the office after like 3 months, and I thought like, oh, she probably took maternity leave. It just turns out she had used all of her vacation time. She'd been saving it up, and then she started crying one day. And I'm just like, oh man, and like all the other moms were comforting her. I was like, what happened? And like her child had fallen at daycare and like bumped their head. And it's only like 3 months old. So she was crying like, 'cause she couldn't be with her kid. She couldn't even go because she was at work.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is so awful. What, like how?
Yeah. How are we encouraging
people to have kids?
People to have kids.
Yeah.
Like
Like you can't survive on like one person's salary. Most people can't anymore. And like personally, I think like women, like moms and like parents should have like their own sick days, but they should also have like additional sick days for the kids, because that's one of the biggest like fights that ends up happening at work. Like they should also be allocated like child sick days, because
because there's another thing with that, which is that daycares call the moms first.
Yeah.
Even if it's written down, and I have 3 friends who have said this, so I can report on it. Like, even if they've written down on this day, you cannot call me, you need to call my husband.
They call the
They
mom.
will still call the mom, and I'll be like, I couldn't answer. And then, they'll go in, get their kids later, and they're like, oh, we called you. We had this issue. We weren't sure what to do. But you didn't pick up your phone. So please be careful. Like, I need you to pick up your phone. And mom will be like, I told you, you can't contact me at this time. And this also shows how like away from the family it's normal for the husband to
father.
be
so removed.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, improving these things probably would work better than ripping people's uteruses out after 30.
It's just so nuts.
It's just, a suggestion.
I
but
just want to know what logic, what loops, jumps, and hoops did this man go through to come to this conclusion?
I think he was just
hypothetical. It's just hypothetical.
Yeah, he's just literally trying to bully women into having kids.
So do you want to hear what I've brought for you?
What's your tea?
This is much shorter and not nearly so
provocative.
Yeah, I don't think that's the word. Maybe it's not nearly as inciting. Okay.
I only bring the best tea for you.
I appreciate that. Here is the headline. All Japanese will be Sato by 2531 if Japan keeps the same surname marriage system.
2531.
So approximately 507 years from now, all Japanese people will be named Sato-san.
You know what? Like, I don't have anything against Sato. It's not my favorite last name.
I'm sorry to anyone named Sato.
It's not my favorite. It's
Do you
just
have a least favorite Japanese surname?
Mm.
Don't say it out loud.
Okay.
Okay.
But, I prefer the ones with, interesting kanjis that I can't read. Or, I don't know. But Sato is so easy. It's no challenge.
Well, here's the thing, right? So You and the previous dude's logic are living in the same sphere right now. Okay, so here's the deal. Because Japan has this law that all married couples have to share the same name.
Everyone will
and apparently, all men from Sato families are very good at romance. They
Really?
keep getting married.
Okay.
I guess so, because Japan is in 500 years going to all be named. Like, just get rid of the name Japan at this point. Go ahead. It's now Sato Land. I think it's so crazy. Okay, so not only is this surname so common that the number of Satos in the country is going up, but also like the marriage rate is declining, birth rate is declining, and yet the Satos are out here taking over the whole country. I guess
it was their plan all along.
I guess
the
so.
Sato family.
I wonder which kanji. There's a couple different ones for Sato, you know? But it says here.
That means maybe your descendants might become Sato.
My descendants could yours, potentially. You literally might meet a Sato tomorrow. You never know what could happen. Beware the Satos. They're coming for you and your name. Okay. So here it is. Assuming the growth rate remains constant. Growth rate of couples named Sato.
Go Satos!
More than half of the population will be named Sato by the year 2446. Less than 100 years later, the entire population. That's the prediction.
So, do you think the Japanese name registry, whatever it's called, I'm blanking on the name.
Like the family registry?
Yeah, the family registry system, have taken this into consideration and are going to change? Because they've been fighting about this in the news recently.
Yeah, this is what's been coming up. If you keep reading this whole article, which I'm simply not going to do out loud, that's crazy, is that they're talking about maybe we need to introduce a system where people can choose to have separate surnames. And what's interesting is that this is allowed for foreign couples, or not foreign couples, but like international Japanese foreigner.
Oh, really?
The foreigner is allowed to keep their name. They do not have to have the same name.
But what happens to the kids?
As far as I understand, typically they take the Japanese name if they stay in Japan. Or they can just take the father's name. I think it's still mostly like they take their father's name is actually what's really happening. Which is, I guess normal-ish. But I also know that if you are a foreigner who marries into the Japanese family, and you choose to change your name to the Japanese version, even on the registry though, they will have to do like a special acceptance of your foreign name. So it's really just quite a lot of work. So these strict laws that they have that are like Japanese people have to share the same name, but Japanese and foreigners don't, probably is also lending to the Sato situation.
Well, maybe the Satos will finally put this name business to rest. We don't need to think that hard to name everybody. I have changed my mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. So everyone can just have the same name.
Yes.
Okay. So then everyone can be Samar. Everyone can be Samar Sato.
SS.
SS.
You just put an O in there. SOS.
Middle name Olivia. And that is it. That is my tea for you today.
Samar. Actually, it sounds nice.
Okay, any Satos out there? We're giving up. We're giving up on the demon wife and the Yakuza house husband. We are now just looking for Mr. Sato. No longer do we need. Nope, Mr. Sato, come find us.
No, don't come find
me. We are accepting proposals at nogingerpodcast@gmail.com.
Become a Sato if, everyone else is Sato, and we're getting rid of
Never mind. No Satos apply.
We're getting rid of more interesting names, and we're just, that there's that episode in the Tooth Fairy cartoon in America. What is it called?
The Tooth Fairy cartoon. Oh, the Fairly Odd Parents.
Is it that one where they remove everyone's individuality or whatever, and then everyone becomes a blob?
That sounds awful.
Yeah,
but that also
awful.
sounds like, George Orwell's 1984
it was basically like
Aldous
showing
Huxley's
maybe
Brave New World.
Timmy, because Timmy wanted to be normal.
Yeah.
I think maybe, and then they granted his wish, and he became normal, and it was so.
Don't be
boring.
normal. Don't be normal. Be weird. I support you.
Be a Sato.
New slang suggestion for Japan. A normal person is now a Sato. Is that?
We should have started this episode with no Satos were harmed in the making of
You
this
know
episode.
what? We could just let's finish the episode with that, shall we?
All right. Hopefully you enjoyed this tea. Let us know if you are excited to become a Sato.
In the near future.
Yeah. And if you would like...
If you can live for 500 years, you will get to see it. All right. This has been No Ginger. Our podcast is produced in its entirety by Ash and Samar. Special thank you to the news and to you, our listener. If you like this episode and you want to see more like it, let us know. Send us some comments, some suggestions. If you have any tea to share, we would love to share a cup of tea with you.
If you have any friends that you think would like this podcast,
share with them. And if your name is Sato, drop us a like or a follow. Subscriptions and DMs are welcome at No Ginger Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or wherever social media is found. Send submissions and your shouganais to nogingerpodcast@gmail.com. If you've got a problem,
we'll put it on the podcast.
Bye.